when you got the role, had you been a fan of The White Lotus before?
I know what the appropriate lie would be, but actually it first came on during COVID, and I was consigned to being the washer-up in my house, and my wife and daughters had watched the first season, and when I tried to join in on like episode 3 or 4, because I'd spent so much time in the kitchen, they wouldn't let me. They said, you've got to watch from the beginning, Dad, and I didn't get to catch up because we have just the one TV. So I hadn't watched it, and when I got the job, I told Mike and Dave Bernard, his partner in crime who produces it, that it was my favorite show, and it was work of utter brilliance. And then I watched it, and it turns out it actually is, so it's okay.
A little white lie for White Lotus, never hurt anyone, right? So tell me how this came about, that you did get the part.
Someone else turned it down. That's the honest truth. Someone else was offered it. God bless him, I love him. And Dave had seen Death of Stalin on the plane, I think. And so said, what about Jason Isaacs? And Mike probably said, who? I don't know, I wasn't there. And they asked me to audition and go on tape, which is not something I've done for a long time. Okay. Not because I'm too grand, but because I don't get asked. And I remember going to this office just off Times Square in New York. I was in New York publicizing a show I had coming out in which I was the lead. I walked past my face on billboards hundreds of feet high, and I'm sure anyone looking at it would think, that guy must lead the life. Well, no, I went into an office and I stumbled and bumbled on a camera like this, thinking I'd blown the audition like I did when I was 25, and maybe I was cheap enough, or I don't know, for whatever reason, they offered me the job, and I jumped at it.
I think it would be for another reason. You were excellent in the show. Do you know who it was that turned down the part?
I do know who it is, and I have not texted him yet to say thank you. I should send him a pony, or if I could afford it.
Do you want to say thank you right now?
A Porsche. No, I'm not going to say his name. He's a wonderful, very well-known actor, and I'm sure he had many reasons to turn it down. Whatever they are, they're great as far as I'm concerned.
Now, when you got the role, how much information did you have? Did you get all of the scripts?
Yeah, we all got all of the scripts. We all knew all the entire story. Also because you're shooting out of order.
No. Dude! It's what? Coconut milk's off. Coconut milk's off. Coconut milk is off.
So, particularly for Tim, who's taking different amounts of drugs and has different amount of information about how completely screwed his life is and his family is, you need to know what's coming because you shoot all the scenes in one location. And it might be something from episode 5, then episode 2, then episode 8, and then you move to another location and shoot. So yeah, we'll go everything. And Mike is completely open, gives you his number, and texting you in the middle of the night, and I'm texting him, and taking input from everybody and changing things. It's a very alive procedure.
When you first read the script, and we will get to your character, but obviously your family's storyline stirred up quite the conversation. When you saw what would be going on.
You're talking about the... Do you want to say it first, or do I say it? You're talking about the hand job, I think you're talking about.
Yes, the hand job, the incest, all of the above, yes.
I mean, it's no more shocking, frankly, than any of the other stuff he's done in other seasons. You know, Murray defecating in a suitcase is the nice way of putting it, or a bunch of other stuff. It didn't surprise me that Mike is a provocateur, and that it came out of an already completely up relationship between the siblings, and the family is beautifully dysfunctional, and yet they really love each other. Tim really loves his kids. Nothing shocked me. What I remember about reading it is that I devoured it, the whole thing, all 8 episodes in one go. I just inhaled the thing and looked up, and it was dark suddenly, and I thought, God, he's good.
We're poor now, and Daddy's going to prison.
Did you base your character off of anyone, or where did you draw your inspiration from?
Well, first of all, there's technical stuff. So my accent is from Durham, North Carolina. It's very specific. And not just Durham, but old money Durham, blue-blooded Durham, and someone who wanted to sound like his grandfather because he wants to be connected to that legacy. So all of those things clue you into the technical stuff. And then I met a lot of rich people. I mean, one of the great joys of being an actor is that you get invited into worlds where you don't belong at all. So and I run through open doors. So I shadow people all the time. When I have a job, even when I don't have a job, I go, okay, can I come and watch you at work for a day? And people tell you things that they wouldn't tell a journalist. I'm sorry to say.
It's true.
So I've been with politicians and priests and drug dealers and plastic surgeons and many people. And so quite a few times been around some of the wealthiest people you'll ever meet, and watched how they behave and watched what's important to them. And so I knew people liked him. And then his accent is very much based on one person, who I'm not going to say who they are, but I had them in my headphones all the time.
There's been a lot written about the accent. There was a rumor that you based it off of the Bravo show Southern Charm.
Yeah, the clue's in the South. They're from Charleston.
Yes.
He's from Durham, North Carolina. It's a very different accent.
Okay, because
So
I
that's
thought
not
that
true.
was debunked, so that's not
it's
true.
not true.
Okay, but it was a specific
Mike
person.
initially said to me, have a look at this guy, he's interesting, Thomas Ravenel from that
Mm-hmm,
show, who is old money and
Yes.
has a certain kind of braggadocio, which is fabulous, and ran politically, and I watched all those speeches. But then when I started working with a dialect coach, it became clear that it was the wrong voice. Also, you know, I didn't want to be mimicking anyone else. I wanted to build Tim. Tim is a complicated man. He loves his family. He's a very alpha male. He's a guy who arrives at the White Lotus and goes, I don't want any of this spiritual I just
Right.
want to work out. And of course, Mike being the consummate storyteller gives him the biggest spiritual journey of anyone. I mean,
Right.
He ends up being the living embodiment of Buddhist principles and kind of surrendering to fate. So yeah, he wasn't modeled on other. He's probably a Frankensteinian model of various people, and then he takes on his own form.
Talk to me a bit more about the accent. How difficult was it, and did you break character?
Well, the thing is, I love accents. I'm not very. My accent changes all the time. I've had lots in my life. I grew up. I'm from Liverpool, which is an accent that maybe lots of your viewers wouldn't recognise. But we moved to London, and I dropped it overnight and had a thick London accent. I went to university. I became very, very fancy and sounded like British aristocracy. People think actors are very confident people, but actually most of my experience and my friends and the people I've worked with are people who are extremely insecure and feel more comfortable often when we're young, being other people, exploring what people are like. I think I was drawn to it because I wanted to know why other people felt so confident in their own skin, because I wasn't. In Britain, your voice tells other people everything about you, not just where you're from or you socioeconomically, but education-wise, how you're aspiring for other people to perceive you. You know, all those subtleties are available. So the accent was easy for me. What's difficult is not to do it, but to make it second nature. So you again are having the character's thoughts
Right.
and not thinking about any of the technical stuff. So yeah, I do it a lot. In fact, I think for the first month before my wife arrived, I stayed in my accent all the time, and then she wouldn't put up with any of that crap once she got there, obviously.
So that's what I wanted to ask. If you stayed in the accent throughout the whole shoot.
Yeah, but the accent's not the character.
Right.
I said I was Jason. I was just talking like that until it's second nature. It's muscle memory. It's like it's juggling or sport or something. The more you do it, the more you don't think about it.
Now, you said that Tim is a complex character, which he certainly is. What redeeming qualities did you find in him?
I don't know what that adjective means in Tim. I mean, Tim is just a man who thinks the things he thinks, loves the things he thinks. I'm not standing outside him going, I like that, I don't like that, what's good. I mean, he's a man who does what he does. He loves his kids. He's made a lot of money. What I love about the entire thing, looking back, is where he gets to. You know, where he gets to be a man who goes, you know, I've been spending my whole life trying to be better than other people, recognizing I was thought I was special and privileged and needing to maintain that gap. And he ends looking at the drops of water re-entering the ocean, and the words of the monk suddenly take form for him, and he understands what he meant. He misunderstood them the first time and took it as license to kill himself. And at that point, at the end, he goes, he's just embracing the relief of recognizing that he is just ordinary. He's a human being. He's not better. No one is better than anybody else. And he's looking forward to a life where he's relieved of that, that onus to stay above people. I love that about him. I love how much he loves his kids.
I mean, the scene towards the end with the blender and his youngest son, I mean, you could really see the panic and heartbreak with him, and you really see him as a father
Sure.
who loves his kids
But
there.
thanks for that. I mean, that's what I was hoping. But actually, I think you see how much he loves his kids in the scene where he tries to kill them all, apart from Lachlan. That was a scene I was not worried about, whatever the word is, anxious, scared of in a kind of creative, excited way, coming up to it thinking I've got to, a lot of people get to do wonderful naturalistic acting in this. I have this kind of Shakespearean Greek tragedy to
Right.
act out, but it has to seem as real as everyone else. And I really love my family, and it's breaking my heart to kill them, but I think at that point, in my drug-addled rationale, that I'm saving them pain and humiliation that's coming to them, the degradation of it all. But it's not easy for him to do. And then there's this, he's kind of sideswiped by something he doesn't understand, which is this need for life to not do this thing. But the thing he was about to do was the solution to the problem. Suddenly he's got no solution. He's kind of falling into the abyss. That felt like a scene as full of love as the one where I think I've lost someone, you know.
What was the most challenging scene?
Well, overall, the challenge, there was a technical challenge, first of all, in kind of calibrating all the drug stuff, because you shoot so out of order. But not having words. You know, mostly, you see Tim, he's out of his head in the corner. I was worried that I would be the extra from Cheech and Chong that had wandered onto a White Lotus set, and that the audience wouldn't know what I was thinking or feeling or worrying about, because I was having a billion thoughts a second.
What do you think the show says about money and wealth and greed, perhaps?
I love that you asked that question, because the answer is, it says whatever people take from it. It's a work of art. It's a beautiful work of art. It's completely engrossing. It's funny and sad and moving. And Mike is just not a guy that wants to send a message. That's why these characters are so surprising and so jaggedly human in their behavior and their choices. Also, what it does is it ends with questions.
Right.
Moral questions, ethical questions, narrative questions, what happens to them when they land and stuff, but also, what would I do? What do I think about that? And I judged that person harshly, but now I see they're human, or those people I adored, and now they made that choice. But one of the great things about being in this thing, the great privilege of being in the show, not just while we were doing it, but well, not even while we were doing it, but afterwards, is to find out how much joy it gave people to be able to talk about things that are not the monstrosity of politics in the world, or the state of wars, or the other things that are dividing people so much, but to give people a place where they could come together. When everyone is so siloed politically in every other way, and people were having viewing parties, and people were dressing up as the characters, and the lines were entering the zeitgeist as kind of memes, and to give people not only that fun, but stuff to talk about. So you know, really to the moral maze of it all. That's just what a gift to be able to give people.
Speaking of people saying, "Don't tell me the end," when you first read the script, when you got the job, were you surprised, A, at how many people were being killed off, and B, who was being killed off?
No, because it's not whodunit. It's not like Agatha Christie. It's not like, let me work out who's going to die. It's whoever Mike feels like killing, quite frankly,
Right.
For whatever reason. And it's not like you look back through the breadcrumbs of clues. So I wasn't, surprised. I knew someone was going to die. I thought it was me when I got to episode 4 where I killed myself. I assumed, I read that scene and I went, oh, guess I'm not going to be there that long. And then I didn't die. It was a dream or fancy or nightmare. And then I did it again. There's actually some sequences we shot where I killed myself, and then I killed Parker, and then I killed Patrick, that were not in the final edit. So, but every time I read them, I went, oh no, I'll be coming home early.
Coming home early.
So no, it was more just, it wasn't surprising, because it's not that you're not trying to guess who's going to die. There aren't Easter eggs laid there.
So you said that you shot some scenes where you killed yourself and your family. Were those scripted as dream sequences or as happening in reality?
Well, when you read them, you think they're real. That's what the intention is for the audience too. So when I read them the first time, I thought they were real, and then I realized that he snaps out of them. You know, they were written exactly as they were meant to be, as sequences that confuse you when you watch them.
What was it like being married on screen to Parker Posey?
Well, it's odd that, because I get asked a lot, because Parker's so hilarious in it.
Hysterical.
But Tim's really miserable. I mean, he's a really upset, depressed guy, and you know, acting is the art of making it real for yourself, because the camera can tell when you're lying. You're not really pretending. I mean, of course you're pretending, but you're pretending as best you can. So everybody else is cracking up at Parker, and she would go off on these riffs forever. And I was trying to stay feeling whatever Tim was feeling, which is very isolated. You know, acting is mostly about connection, human connection with other people. You know, I did a film just before with Gillian Anderson where we're madly in love with each other, and we really connected. As Tim, I didn't connect with Victoria. His wife's frankly out of her head and being a bit of an idiot most of the time, which is what's so funny. Yeah, other people got more joy from Parker than I got as Tim. The connections I had really were with my kids, because he wants his kids to live. He wants his kids to tell him they're going to be okay without money, and they don't. You know.
Right. Can you say tsunami as well as Parker Posey can?
Well, so Parker did something hilariously grotesque with her accent, because she doesn't have to come from Durham, and she's drugged out of her head. I had to keep things more normal. So I could do that, but I'm not sure. The two members of the family talking like that might have just snapped the suspension of disbelief.
Can we get your best tsunami right now?
Oh no, you think I'm going to do the accent now for you? Not
I
a
hope
chance.
so.
No,
I would love that.
Not a hope in hell. But I often get asked to talk like Lucius Malfoy in front of kids in the supermarket and stuff, and I go, this kid believes that Hogwarts exists and Lucius Malfoy lives there, and I'm not doing it in front of the fish counter. No.
Right.
And I won't. I've played 2 or 3 parts since then, and I don't want to do it badly.
Okay.
So I'm certainly not doing degraded version of the Durham that I did.
Okay, fair enough. I will not be offended.
Also, I wouldn't do an impression of Parker because she does that pretty well.
Yes. Speaking of your previous roles, given how big White Lotus is, what are you recognized now most often?
Well, the thing is, I'm really old, and I've been around so long, and I've done so many things, some of which were successful, some of which weren't, but they all found an audience. That there is no most often. Right? People come up and it's a fun game I play with myself. No one else can enjoy when I try and guess what people are coming up for. So if they're walking symmetrically and have a certain gait, I think it's going to be a soldier thing, be Black Hawk Down or Fury or Green Zone. If it looks like they're going to mug me, it's Brotherhood because I played a gangster in that. If it's if they've got broken glasses fixed with Scotch tape, it's probably Star Trek. It depends what it is. The OA. Millennials, it's always the OA. They love the OA. They want to come up and tell me, not that they love the show, but what it meant to them and how it changed their life and how and beg for a season 3, which we're going to try and make somehow or other. For a while it was White Lotus, but I have one of those faces that people don't really recognize. They think they might know me from somewhere. If I'm a neighbor or I owe them money or something. So it's a whole variety of things. It's rarely Harry Potter because I don't look like that guy.
Exactly.
Obviously.
Exactly. I have to go back to what you just said. You said there might be a season 3 of the OA. Anything more you know about
Zal and Britt and I are working hard to find a way to bring those stories to an audience because there's literally tens of millions of people all over the world who are dying to see where it was going. They did an unusual thing for a mystery show. They had the whole thing mapped out. I mean, there are certain shows you watch and they're implying some greater mythology and being inside, baseball, I know that there's people scribbling away in rooms going, oh my God, we've got a season 3, what are we going to do now? They have the whole thing mapped out and it's brilliant. And so somehow we are committed. We will find a way to bring those stories to an audience.
Okay.
Because I want to see them. I love that show.
Many people will be very happy to hear this. So speaking now of seasons in the future, there are a lot of White Lotus fans who would love to see a Ratliff family spinoff. Your thoughts?
Yeah. Well, my thoughts are I saw Mike yesterday. He seems to be pretty busy with White Lotus 4. I think he might be busy with White Lotus 29 in a couple of decades' time. I'm not sure he's got any days off, and I don't think anyone else could write it. They did make a version. They called it Schitt's Creek. So it's something like that.
If that ever happened, though, would you be interested?
Oh, my God. As an actor, you're a second tier of interpretive artists. We don't make anything up. We can improvise around things and stuff, but and what you try and do is find very talented people to, whose coattails you hang on to. And I would act out Mike White's shopping list in dinner theatre if it had me.
Okay, let's talk about the Emmys. Where were you when you found out that you were nominated?
Such a terrible story. I should have thought of something better. I was sitting in my kitchen ordering a part for my fridge. And a notification popped up, and I went, no, I can't got time for that. It's got me 2 more minutes before I'm locked out this page. And then I was trying to put my credit card in, and I went, I think I had my name on it, actually. What was that notification? I was trying to find out what it was, and I couldn't see what it was, and the website was down, and then it popped up, and I went, oh my God, I've got 30 seconds to order the part. And I went back to the fridge. That's the moment I took.
Stars, they're just like us, right?
The thing about it is, obviously it's incredibly flattering and lovely to be picked up. I'm the same actor I've been in the other 200 projects I've been in, and maybe 4 or 5 times over the years I've been nominated for these lovely awards. I never win, but it's okay. But it's always been because it's been a brilliant project, and it's what it is testimony to is the character has been complicated or emotional or dramatic, and that the person who wrote it and dreamt it up was doing something human and rich and surprising. And I'm just a guy who gets to show it to the audience, and you get credit that isn't really due to you. So it's not. There's no part of me that thinks that it's about me. Honestly, it's not mock humility. I'm really grateful for it. I just know that when you read something like that, you go, if I don't this up, people are going to think I've done something special, and the person who did something special is the person who wrote it.
Was there a White Lotus team group chat the morning of the Emmys? Or for you, it wasn't morning.
Ever since. No, there's been a White Lotus group chat ever since. We've gossiped about each other, we congratulate each other on things. You see someone in a commercial or that they're working, and there's a, it's a very. We were there for 7 months together, so there was a real dysfunctional occasionally, but functional family bonding that happens there, and we're all in touch with each other all the time. I thought my kids in the show, Patrick, Sam, and Sarah Catherine, were just magnificent and did beautiful acting. They had to wait. Patrick kept his powder dry for 7 episodes before he has to come to me and go, look, I'm nothing. I'm all hot air. Without you, Dad, I'm nothing. I thought he did that beautifully. Sarah Catherine waited 8 episodes before she gets to do her big scene, which is to say, I'm actually a princess. And I want Egyptian cotton and I want organic food. And she did that scene, it's just, I thought, sensationally. So, and Sam had such a quiet, small part, but what he did so subtly was fabulous. But, you know, those of us with showier parts get recognized. I wish it was one ensemble award for everybody because, you know, rising tide lifts all boats. And I thought all of them were brilliant.
Now, I know you have been asked about this a lot, your full frontal scene, which I am not going to ask you. We know you wore a prosthetic.
And yet,
all of
strangely,
that.
you're bringing it up.
Well, no. Here's why. Because as
Yeah.
a viewer, I've noticed in recent years there seems to be more male
No,
full
only in
frontal.
Mike's show. Mike wanted to redress the balance. And so there's been full frontal male nudity in that because
And Euphoria.
For decades, other people have followed
yes,
suit or
yes.
done it too. But as we know, well, you know, I have 2 daughters, and there's naked women wall to wall for decades. It's interesting that they're not aware of it because they didn't see the stuff in the 70s and 80s. There was always naked women
Right.
everywhere. And so they don't, when I bring it up to them, I am the proto-feminist in my household who's
Right.
complaining about it. And they don't see it as the problem I have because I have context for it. You know? So I understand what Mike's doing.
And this is exactly what I wanted to ask you, because there's been historically in cinema so much more female nudity than male nudity. And now it feels like, as you said, there's a bit more of a balance. We're seeing a bit more
I
of
mean, it
it.
depends who it is, depends what it is. That's Mike's own personal bugbear that he wanted to make that point. It was something he wanted to do.
Did you work with an intimacy coordinator on set?
No,
No. Okay.
I didn't have any sex scenes. No. They're fantastic innovations. Everyone makes fun of them, including us. When you talk with them, it's embarrassing and fun and silly, and particularly the older actors who've done sex scenes for decades, and then suddenly there's these people sticking cushions between you and
Right.
dance and supports. You laugh at it, but actually they're great, and what they do is absolutely invaluable, and it makes everything so much more comfortable than I have experienced since I started acting.
Do you read fan theories about The White Lotus?
Yes, I read everything. I'm one of those idiots. I read every comment, even that's because, like most actors, you scroll through 1,000 compliments, you find one person who's rude, you go, they are beacons of truth. I'm terrible and should retire.